Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome to the Economic Club of Florida. Again, I hope you enjoy our venue. Welcome to the Economic Club of Florida's 574th meeting in our continuing series of distinguished speaker programs. My name is Marian Hoffman, and I have the pleasure of being your club president. Now, if you would please silence your cell phones so we're uninterrupted. And we all know this is Veterans Week, and I want to give a special thank you to all the veterans. And I want to invite my friend, CJ Owlett. Will you please come lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And he served, and I'm just so proud of him.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I know we have many veterans in the room, Admiral Grant, Steve Llewellyn, many others. So thank you again for your service. Welcome again. We have an exciting and informative program for you all today. Our speaker is Miss Angela Suggs. She is president and CEO of the Florida Sports Foundation. This is the official sports promotion and development organization for the state of Florida. Angela is a tremendous leader with considerable experience in collegiate athletics, sports marketing, and management. And I had the privilege of working with her in a prior life. Our ECF board member and former chair, Glenn Robertson, will be introducing Angela in just a few moments. Now, just a few quick announcements about upcoming programs. This year's December program will be a holiday season reception at 5:30 on Tuesday, December 5th at the First Franklin Financial Services location. This meeting will include our annual election of officers and new members of the Economic Club of Florida's Board of Directors. And we've already lined up great speakers for 2024. On January 23rd, Henry McVie, partner and head of Global Macro Balance Sheet and Risk, and the Chief Investment Officer for KKR Balance Sheet will be our speaker. This will take place at the Park View at Cascades, yet another venue that we will be using for the Economic Club. And then, thanks to board members like Ray Bai and others, on February 6th at the FSU Alumni Center, we are going to have Leon Panetta, chair of the Panetta Institute for Public Policy and former Secretary of Defense. He will be live streamed in to share his insights during these challenging global times. You won't want to miss these programs, and you can stay up to date by checking our website or making sure you're getting the emails. And you've heard me say before, our sponsors are a vital part of the club. And today we'd like to thank the Florida Sports Foundation for being our sponsor. The Florida Sports Foundation was established by the Florida legislature as a direct support organization almost 35 years ago. The foundation was created to guide, stimulate, and promote the sports industry in our state. In 1994, the Florida legislature authorized the Professional Sports Team License Plate Program, which allowed all professional league teams to establish a team specialty plate. At that time, there were only 15 specialty plates, and today in Florida, there are 114. And then finally, in 2011, the legislature merged the Florida Sports Foundation into Enterprise Florida. During the 2023 session, the foundation reverted to a direct support organization and joined the newly built Florida Commerce. So once again, we thank our sponsors. They're such a critical part. If you or anybody you know would like to be a sponsor, just reach out to us, please. And now we want to thank our trustees. As you know, our trustees are crucial to helping us with the Economic Club. Trustees get special privileges. They get to meet the speaker, just like today. They got to meet Miss Angela Suggs and ask her questions. So if you're a trustee, would you kindly stand so we can thank you? And I'm really proud that today we have a number of guests, and I want to welcome all guests. But before I start the guest introduction, I have a quick point of personal privilege. My special guest today is my better half, my husband, Bruce Hoffman. He's the best editor, the best lawyer, and the best former Gator cheerleader I have. And Bruce, would you stand, please? And I'd also ask my son, Travis, would you stand? Travis is a banker at Prime Meridian. Okay, so now, come on, Travis. As you all know, when you're a volunteer on a board, they put up with a lot, trust me. So now, if you have guests at your table, would you raise your hand so we can make sure we introduce them? And I know we're going to introduce the Florida Sports Foundation guests when Angela is up here. So anyone else over here? Dominic, please. Thank you. And in the back, please. Thank you. Okay. Anybody, please.
Kristen Campbell is here. There she is.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Kristen. Okay, please. Go, Holy Comforter. Okay, so now let me introduce the head table. First, on my far left, we have the chairman of the Leon County Commission, Nick Maddox. Nick is the current chair, as you know, of the Leon County Commission. He was elected in 2010 on a mission to bring diversity, increase transparency, and community engagement, and to work tirelessly to ensure Leon County's most vulnerable citizens have adequate resources and are cared for. Nick also serves as the CEO of Family Promise of the Big Bend, where he continues the work of finding housing and stability for low-income and at-risk families in Leon County. One fun fact about Nick is, you might already know this, and especially my Seminole friends, but Nick was part of the 1999 FSU Seminole National Championship football team, and he even played in the NFL for a few years. So I want to invite the chairman to come up and quickly provide some greetings to us.
Thank you. On behalf of the Leon County Commission, where I am chair, I'd like to bring greetings to you all. It's not often that I get to stand in front of a room of such amazing professionals. The amount of things that, as I look over the room that you've done for this community is absolutely outstanding. And so to have all these folks in this room, all these leaders in this community in this room is a special thing for me. And for me to be able to address you at this point makes it even more special. This is probably one of the final things I'll get to do as chair of the Leon County Commission before we rotate here in November on the 14th. I did want to take this opportunity. I'm supposed to be very brief, but I did want to take this opportunity to recognize the Sports Foundation for what they've done here in Leon County. $53,000 they've given to us through grants that has brought everything to Leon County, from the national NCAA cross country Division I national championships to the USA track and field national championships, to even being a big part of bringing the 2026 World Championships right here in Leon County. And I know you guys will appreciate this. Because of that $53,000, we always look at the return of what it's doing for us as a community. $17 million over the past 5 years that it's garnered an economic impact right here in Leon County. And so as you go out and you talk about the impact that sports and the Florida Sports Foundation have had here in Leon County, make sure you tell folks that it is not in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's in the millions of dollars. And as we invest in our sports infrastructure here in Leon County, as we talk about investing in more fields and more opportunities for folks to come here, it's going to yield even more and even bigger numbers for us right here in Leon County. Again, I did want to bring greetings on behalf of the Leon County Commission. Thank you for what all you do in this community and all that you'll continue to do as community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well done. Next, we have Glenn Robertson. Glenn's background includes 20 years in public service, including 10 years as Director of State Planning, Policy, and Budget for 3 governors, both Democrats and Republicans. He is also a former chair of the Economic Club of Florida. His background includes 25 years in the private sector as president and CEO of a consulting firm focused on designing and operating government and business decision-making systems. But Glenn has a special tie to the Florida Sports Foundation. He was appointed by Governors Bob Graham, Wayne Mixon, Bob Martinez, Lawton Childs, and Jeb Bush, serving 20 years as a board member and chairman of the Florida Sports Council, which later became the Florida Sports Foundation. He was instrumental in changing sports industry promotion from being taxed to being privately supported through the annual purchase of sports team specialty license plate. One fun fact about Glenn, he's a multi-sports player and rabid fan whose mom never threw out thousands of baseball cards he collected as a boy in the 1950s and 60s, which he joked with me, he can retire now. And then finally, Ken Pratt is currently Secretary of ECF and serves as Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for the Florida Bankers Association. I lost my next page, but I can kind of do it by memory. Basically, he is an officer of ECF. He is a graduate of FSU. And he was started as a legislative aide with the Florida House of Representatives. He serves on numerous boards, including Big Bend Hospice, Capital City Bank, and of course, the Economic Club. And one fun fact about Kenneth Pratt is he's an accomplished cello player. And he sat first chair in the Tallahassee Youth Symphony Orchestra. I can't even say it. But I was so impressed that you played cello, and we might need some entertainment at the holidays. You never know. And then finally, we have Carrie Post. Carrie, 7 years, she served as Executive Director of Visit Tallahassee, also known as Leon County Division of Tourism. Visit Tallahassee is charged with growing the economic impact from tourism in Tallahassee through advertising and marketing, direct sales to meeting and groups, visitor services, and sports tourism. She's a second generation native Floridian who previously served as Deputy Secretary of State and held several leadership positions, both at the state and local level. She specialized in tourism development and destination marketing for the last 2 decades. She's a graduate of the University of South Florida, majoring in marketing and economics. And here's her fun fact. Sports tourism, particularly youth and amateur sports, remains a growth market for our community. And as you might know, Tallahassee will be hosting the 2026 World Athletics Cross Country Championship at the award-winning Appalachia Regional Park. And Carrie has met both the King and Queen of Spain twice. And now I invite my friend and colleague, Glenn Robertson, to please introduce our speaker.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's really with great pleasure that I am introducing today's speaker, Angela Suggs, who is the chairman, the CEO, and president of the Florida Sports Foundation. The foundation, as mentioned, was created by the state of Florida to promote sports industry growth and create sporting opportunities for Florida's citizens. Over the last 6 years, the foundation has blossomed under the leadership of Angela Suggs. Recently, the state and Governor DeSantis recognized the importance of the sports economy by placing the foundation under the executive office of the governor. Angela will highlight for us how sports is such a huge generator of economic activity and how the foundation is a major player in that reality. Angela is also a passionate proponent of organizing and operating amateur sporting events and which can be enjoyed by and be healthy for younger to older citizens of Florida. We can truly be proud that Angela is a native Tallahassean. She attended FAMU High and as well as Florida A&M University, where she earned a degree in economics and later earned a master's degree from St. Thomas University. She worked for the Marriott Corporation in sales and marketing, and later she excelled as FAMU's Senior Associate Athletics Director for External Affairs and as Senior Woman Administrator. Angela has loved actively participating in sports her whole life. She was a successful swimmer in particular, and to me, anyone who gets up at the crack of dawn every day and goes and jumps in a pool of cold water is truly a very strong person and a dedicated athlete. Congratulations, Angela. Whoa. I couldn't do that. Angela and her husband, Davin, are the proud parents of their 17-year-old daughter, Dylan, who is also a committed athlete. She's a super softball player at FAMU High. She will soon be a scholarship athlete at Campbell University in North Carolina this coming fall. Anyone who spends any time with Angela, and a number of you got that opportunity before our meeting started, quickly recognizes her passion for people and for promoting sports. She truly loves being the leader of an organization dedicated to improving the lives of Floridians through sports and providing massive stimulation to Florida's economy. And when you hear the Florida Sports Foundation story from Angela, I think you'll agree that we are truly fortunate to have her leading the way for Florida to be the sports capital of the United States. Let's give a great economic club welcome to Angela Suggs, President and CEO of the Florida Sports Foundation. Angela.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Glenn, for that introduction. Thank you, Marion, for your leadership, for your example, for just everything that you poured into our relationship while we've known each other as colleagues and as friends. Thank you, Katrina Roll, for thinking of me along with Glenn to speak to you all today. And as the introductions for the table, we have some guests that are with us today. And I will start with the team. If the Florida Sports Foundation team members that are here, if you will stand, please. And I will go from left all the way over to the right, Jackie, and we'll start with Joe. So Joe Piotrowski, who we'll speak about a little bit more, is our Director of Partnerships. We have Eddie Price, who serves as our VP of Finance and Administration. Latoya Smithwick keeps the trains on the tracks and keeps everything rolling, and she is everything to all of us and certainly me. Carissa Pendleton serves as our Partnerships Manager, and Jackie Hightower serves as our VP of Operations. And I'd just like to thank them for all that they do before you and the many of the numbers and statistics that you will see for the past 6+ years. Many of these team members have made these numbers possible. Additionally, we have Daryl Jones with us in terms of what we do for youth sports and our connection to school boards, not only here in Leon County, but across the state. Daryl is definitely a dear friend and has been with us. Tammy Hamlet As we look at, she's with Florida A&M University, but definitely has served this community in terms of youth impact from a philanthropic standpoint, as well as a youth development standpoint. She currently serves at Florida A&M in the Division of Research and manages several $1 million in grants for the budget that impacts what you've seen for my husband and, well, our alma mater in terms of the success that Florida A&M has had. And then, of course, Davin Suggs. And so Davin Suggs is my chief cheerleader, my chief motivator, my chief call it out if it's really not right, because we have that kind of friendship. Like, Angela, really, let's just let that go. But definitely, he serves as Deputy Executive Director of the Florida Association of Counties. And while I've been in this space for a little over 6 years, Davin kind of helped me to come into the space riding a wave that close to 20 years now. He's, kind of raised the mantle and flown the flag for home rule and what is for all of 67 counties of the state of Florida. So Davin, I thank you for the foundation that you have laid. And to the dais and to everyone that is here, Mr. Chairman, you're on record. So I'm going to hold you to these 24 fields that Leon County will see here soon, multi-purpose, diamonds, all of that, indoor, let me just add to it, indoor facilities and everything else. I think this is being recorded, yes. And so you have time. I think you have another board meeting. Let's get that agenda item going. Next slide, please. Again, thank you to the Economic Club. I am super honored to come before you today. Much of this history has already been spoken about. But if we go back to 1989, who remembers OTED? And so we were born out of OTED. We were in office, and I say we, but Larry Pendleton was the person that represented sports and sports tourism. And as we look at 1989, and you fast forward a couple of years, and you've heard some buzz about FIFA World Cup coming to Florida here in the next few years. But in 1996, FIFA has already been here via Orlando. And as we were looking at how would that be funded, we started to just kind of say, well, everyone can't come to the legislature every year asking for every event. And so someone, Governor Childs' chief of staff, read a book on P3s. So go back to the early 90s, public-private partnerships. It became a buzzword, right? A buzz thing, a buzz labeling of organizations. And so with that, upon the reading of that, they came back and said, well, let's try this P3 thing out through sport. And so Larry, guess what? We're going to give you a budget, going to fully support you, 100% the first year. Second year, 50% funding. Third year, you're on your own. And so with that, we set out to, Larry did at the time, to go out and work with, at the time, Visit Orlando and the folks there in terms of how we were going to bring this World Cup bid in for a landing and open that up. And there, the Florida Sports Foundation was born as a 501c3 organization. And as Marion mentioned, we've gone in and out, but the mission remains the same, and that's to invite the world to come play in Florida. Next slide, please. So recently, we conducted an economic impact study with tourism economics, and when I came in, and when many members of the team came in August of 17, we were touting a $57.4 billion economic impact through sport. The numbers that you see here on the screen are a culmination in terms of that $146 billion. Well, let's divide that into two. And so now Florida's economic impact is $70+ billion annually through amateur, recreational, professional, and leisure sport. And all of that comes through. And then let's not just look at the economic impact. Let's look at the jobs associated with that. I learned at FAMU High that you round up 978,000. Yes, close to 1 million. And so close to 1 million jobs through sport. And that's across the landscape. We'll break that down a little bit as we have this conversation today, or as we present these facts and figures to you. But all of these, some of this information is found in the booklet that hopefully many of you received when you first came in. But again, it's through the efforts. And for things that you may not think about, everyone, knows about Super Bowls and All-Star games and FIFA World Cup, but the majority of these numbers come from international jump rope competitions. They come from local recreation, so parks and recreation, and what happens almost every day on a field or a track or a diamond near many of our homes. Next slide, please. And again, we know about the professional sports organizations that have come, and they have grown over the years. And so while, of course, we know Florida is a big deal, as was mentioned, we're the third largest state here in the country, and over 22 million people that call Florida home. But we're a big deal in sports as well. On the professional landscape, not many states can say that they cover the depth and breadth of professional sports. We have two. Because none of these say one, right? No, none of them say two. So we're not just going to do it one time, but we're going to spread across all of our entire state. So 2 Major League Baseball teams, 2 NHL teams, 2 NBA teams, 3 NFL teams. And we were talking about this past weekend as it relates to that. And then 2 MLS teams that create great energy here in our state. Not just our professional sports. We spoke about recreational and leisure sports as well. And we can go to the next slide. More than 16 million people come to Florida for our golf courses. There are golf courses everywhere. More than 16 million visitors. So that doesn't include those of us that go out there, and on some days, it's a good day, and on some days we're chasing that last great shot, right? But with that, in addition to what we do, more than 16 million people come, 1,100 golf courses. 12% of the United States golf economy is right here in the state of Florida. So we don't just have South Beach, right? We've got 1,000 miles of coastline, 12,000 miles of fishable rivers and streams. And again, we don't just have Fort Lauderdale Beach. We don't just have Jacksonville Beach, Panama City Beach, Destin, but we also have 8,000 natural lakes. That's a lot of fishing. It's a whole lot of fishing and boating. We can go to the next. And so we spoke about our specialty plates. And again, back when that conversation was had, so Glenn was there, year 2, 3 years seems like a long time on the first day of the first year, right? But when you get into year 2, you're like, oh, that 50% is feeling kind of different than that 100%. And so what are we going to do? So they went to see a man in Miami by the name of Wayne Huizenga, who at the time owned a couple of businesses. You may have heard of them. Miami Dolphins. It was a great idea to bring baseball to South Florida. So why not? Who cares about the Yankees fans, the Mets fans, the Blue Jays fans, and the Orioles fans? We're going to bring baseball to Florida, and we're going to land it in South Florida. And so, of course, you brought the, at the time, Florida Marlins, now known as the Miami Marlins. And you then said, well, we already have the Olympic plate, which you see we inherited in 1992 when we were incorporated. But there are all of these other teams that are in Florida. Wouldn't it be great if we had a specialty plate for these teams? One meeting led to another. Mr. Huizenga called Ron Book and said, go to Tallahassee and make it happen. Is that how the story goes? Yes, that's how the story goes. And so we're here. And add on the Tampa Bay Rays in 1996, the NASCAR plate in 2007, the play tennis plate, and the 2020 plate. You might say, well, what happened to the golf plate? And so we did have the golf plate, but now there's a nonprofit in Miami that manages the funds that go into youth golf programs and growing youth golf. And so back to that now. through the sales of these plates, if you go to the next slide, we have generated over $5.6 million just last year alone. Let's look at this plate slide, and you see that says August 31st, 2023. And so what started, Glenn, as let's figure out how we're going to build a budget. And surely back in that year, we were not this. When we got here in 2017, we were coming in right under $3 million. And last year, we closed with the support of the Floridians that choose our plates, these plates, from over 120 plus plates that they can choose from, $25 at a time, to the tune of $5.6 million. And what do we do with that? And again, we're trending, still trending as of August. So this many plates. And what do we do with that? It goes back into our communities, and we'll speak a little bit more about that. We can go to the next slide. Let's talk about amateur athletics, professional, recreational, leisure, amateur athletics. In this impact study, over $113 billion in economic impact, 716,000 jobs. Again, what is that? There are tournaments that have over 500 teams. Well, guess what? We need traffic control. We need for people to come out and keep these parks clean. We need ticket takers. We need folk that are going to come in and print up all of the great signage that you see for many of these amateur events, for our road races. You need people that are going to put barricades out. You need people on our softball diamonds that are going to drag the fields. We need all of these efforts that are going to come together via the economic impact of sport. And while nothing is really recession proof, as we've seen over the past decades, but I will tell you that youth sports is definitely recession resistant. You heard, we know it firsthand in terms of traveling the globe. And as we were able to invite other organizations to come into our state over the last 4 years. And so go with me there. We had AAU Junior Olympics that came to Florida when they couldn't go anywhere else. We had several organizations to choose Florida to bring their events. International Jump Rope came to Pasco County. So the world is coming to Florida, not just to Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville. And while we definitely welcome them there, and we have many, many opportunities, they're also coming to Tallahassee, Florida. They're also coming to Lake City, Florida. They're also coming to Newberry, Florida. Over 500 softball teams travel to Newberry, Florida. They're going to fly into Gainesville. They're not, and some will have to fly into Jacksonville because Gainesville is sold out. Some of them will have to get cars from Ocala because all of the rental cars in Gainesville are sold out. And so it is the entire state of Florida, from Escambia on up to Fernandina Beach, all the way down to Monroe County and everything in between. We are excited to tell the world about what Florida has to offer. The next slide, please. We have year-round opportunities, and we'll speak a little bit about our Sunshine State Games, our Grapefruit League, and our Florida Senior Games. If you'll go to the next slide. And so with these numbers, our oldest state games, that means in the country, annually we'll have over 7,500 participants throughout 21 communities and an economic impact that exceeds $4.6 million. And so who are these people? These are people that are amateur athletes that are winning gold, silver, and bronze medals through the Sunshine State Games. And so that is something that we all want to create opportunities for. And again, our mission is to create opportunities for our residents and visitors to play in Florida. Next slide, please. And so again, there is a state out west. They have 15 teams. But here in the great state of Florida, we also have 15 teams that for many of them over 100 years have called Florida home. Last year, the spring training season saw 1.4 million fans at an average of over 6,000 fans to come to 237 games over 33 days in 13 communities. That's just through our spring training season. And we kicked that off with our governor's baseball dinner, which has been around since the 1930s. And we were excited to bring that back in 2017 and have kept it running. Of course, we had to take a pause, but our next installation of kicking off spring training here in the state of Florida, and while this year, we'll just say most years, if you want to win that trophy, you've got to come through Florida. The trophy comes through here more often than not. And so we will celebrate the start of spring training, February 15, 2024, where it all started. In Tampa with the Yankees organization being our host. And Commissioner Manfred, and we believe him, he says each year that this is his favorite baseball dinner. Arizona has a luncheon. So we will take him for his word at that. And but we know that, again, the commitment from these teams exceeds many of them over 100 years. And there is a commitment moving out into the future. Next slide, please. And so our senior games. This past summer, we had over 700 athletes to qualify during our state games and go to the national senior games in Pittsburgh. And from that, we had 576 medals won, 244 of them gold medals, which guess who had the most medals of any state? Why, of course, it was Florida. And so as we look at that, let's go to, well, we can stay here for a second. I want to highlight, as we speak, what does this have to do with economic impact, right? Well, there's that pillar that speaks to quality of life. And so one of our responsibilities is, again, to show that impact. And I just want to highlight a Florida resident, Shirley Chase. Shirley Chase from St. Augustine, Florida, was the first person to participate in the 95 to 99 age group for swimming. She swam the 50, the 100, the 200, and the 500 freestyle in 2021. For those of you that don't know, the 500 is 20 laps. In 2022, she came back and participated in over 4 events, and she won a gold medal and a silver medal in 2022. And then this year, Shirley Chase did pass away at the age of 97 years old. But where I back into that is in 2022, that means she was 96. And so for us to create these opportunities for all residents, young, seasoned, we can then show that how that shows a vibrant sport economy, and that if we are producing opportunities for our residents and visitors, we can go to the next slide, to participate. You saw that registration is open. Those of us 50 and over starts locally, and we have some open events. But as we look at that, we want to keep that going. So if you're active, those of us that aren't so active, but when there's an active community, there's an active participation in growing the economy of the industry. It's football season. It's basketball season. Basketball season just started last week. But both of the Tallahassee teams, and Tallahassee has 2 Division I programs here, one FCS, one FBS. We have a very vibrant, Mr. President, some community college championship, community college athletic program there at TCC. And so Florida, while also being the spotlight of government, it is also a sports town. And so we're super excited about the success of the teams that are here. But let's look at it from a statewide perspective, more than $5 billion in economic impact. And so, of course, that includes the 41,000 jobs, plus jobs that come through college athletics. Again, that's not just the AD. But that is your official, that is your concession company, that is the parking lot attendants. Those are the people that are going to come in and do each and everything that is not just for football, but for every sport, and not just for every sport, but for the youth sports that are coming. Florida A&M Bragg Stadium will be the host this year to all 9 classes of football for the state of Florida, all 9 classes. And so that means every championship for the Florida High School Athletic Association football will come to Tallahassee and go to a college campus, and then they'll go back to Miami, they'll go back to the Keys, Orlando, Jacksonville, or wherever they're going, but they will pick up their trophy here in Tallahassee. And so if you go to the next slide. We spoke about, again, the specialty plates and the grant program that we have, and we're nearing the end. We'll close out with some about more closely to what we do as the Florida Sports Foundation. So in addition to producing opportunities for people to play in Florida, promoting opportunities for people to play in Florida, our biggest role with our partners, and again, Joe Piotrowski is our Director of Partnerships, we have sports commissions throughout our entire state that they are the face and the experts of what their communities can host. And again, yes, we can host Super Bowls. We've hosted more than any other state. Miami has hosted more with 11, and we're hoping for another one to come on board pretty soon as an announcement. But we've hosted more than any other state. Yes, Texas. Yes, California. Because again, we are the first state with this idea to have an organization like the Florida Sports Foundation. 35 years later, no other state has a nonprofit that is assigned to represent to the world the opportunities that exist here. And so again, in addition to international jump rope and pickleball tournaments and volleyball, softball and shuffleboard and horseshoe tournaments and all of that are being hosted, Orlando in July invites 21,000 volleyball teams to come to Florida. And so that's the teams and their families. And the Orlando Convention Center, if you've been there, is now transformed into an entire volleyball coliseum, if you will, of sorts. And we can do that here in Florida, Orlando in July. And so with that, here are the numbers in terms of where that shows itself. Just through our partner program and the ability for us through the sales of these specialty plates, we pour that back into the communities. We give a percentage to the charities of each of the teams that give us the use of their image and likeness without charge. And so through that, we'll give a percentage back to each of the team charities, but the majority of those funds go to a $24 billion economic impact as it relates to supporting these communities with additional funds to keep, recruit, retain these amazing events that come to our state. And of course, we have to look at, again, what that means for job opportunities. And that's over 140,000 jobs that go there. We can go to the next slide, please. Again, our 35 industry partners, these are some of the bullet points that we look with them: access to the grant program, leadership education, expanding awareness of what opportunities lie within these communities. And we'll go to the next slide and we can talk about our Florida Sports Summit. And so it says 2022, we have hurricane season. It's Florida. That's what we do. So we moved it to May of 23, and we were in West Palm Beach. But what this event does is it invites rights holders, people that own these events, to come and have an exclusive opportunity with our communities. And so in that partnership, next year we will be in Panama City, but we invite again, global rights holders to come in and see what it is that Florida has to offer. And so we'll go to the next slide. In 2019, our board chairman, Jesse Biter, saw an opportunity because every community, every budget cannot support going to the international trade shows. And so what the Florida Sports Foundation does is we will, and I actually, in one of these trips, I believe the Scotland trip, host city conference, I was able to meet Chris Campbell, who's here with us, and I met him there. He goes, "Oh, you're from Tallahassee?" And then we talked about how instrumental he was in bringing the British team to Tallahassee for training, and how they then went on to great success. And there's even an article that speaks to how the reason that they were so successful in London, the reason they were so successful in future games is because they've trained in Florida. They trained in Tallahassee. And so we're having this conversation not on Monroe Street or Adams Street. We're having this conversation. We ran into each other there at the host city conference. And so what does that mean? Well, LA 28 is upon us. And so how many communities can we have that can be base camps? We already have a proven story. We already can show our proven success and how that shows itself. And so these are some of the places that we've gone, and we've taken all of Florida, all 67 counties with us everywhere that we go. And we can go to the next slide. We have a few of our events that are coming up, and we've spoken about many of them. We can go to the next slide. In December, Tampa will host the Division I Women's Volleyball Championship. Just last month, the SEC selected Pensacola, Florida to host the Women's SEC Soccer Championships, and they will be there for several years. So again, I want you to hear me mentioning the multiplicity of opportunities that we have in all of the communities that we have here in our great state. And if we'll go, I believe that this is the last slide. And so our results from last year, from the specialty plate program. So you've seen it on a whole, you've seen it as we look forward. And so as we've just ended the first quarter, you saw where our specialty plate sales are trending. Through that program last year, we supported 179 events, over 10,000 jobs. We awarded $5.3 million in grants. And so that 53,000 that you heard, I think that's just this year. And so, you know, we for what we've done here in Leon County. And so as we continue to support, and again, close to a $775 million economic impact. And we brought in over 900,000 visitors here to our state. I am truly honored to work with this amazing team that we have, to stand on the shoulders of giants, to move forward the vision of many of you all in this room, to give you something to brag about in terms of making sports purple. You know, red and blue makes purple. Making sports purple here in our great state, where everyone can cheer for their favorite team. They can cheer for their favorite youth and senior athlete. And we can continue together to show everyone why Florida is where the world comes to play. Thank you.
Some questions?
I will.
Yeah. You can say something about that. She's going to take just a few questions, brief questions, if you would, so that we stay on time.
Yes, thank you for that very informative presentation. So I have two questions. Number one, in baseball, are we losing teams to the Grapefruit League, or whatever the Cactus League is called out in Arizona? We're holding our own. Second question is, I know that there have been various cities in Florida that through fits and starts have tried to host a future Olympics. Is that a reality, and when do you think that might come?
Certainly. And so with the first question, there are always talks, right? And again, with the ownership and the organization, we've been fortunate that there has been no action on any rumors or whispers that have taken place. Many of our spring training venues have received recent makeovers. Many of the teams have renewed their contracts here in the state of Florida. And while there have been conversations, what I can say is the news that we're seeing recently is definitely very positive. Again, all 15 teams are participants in our governor's baseball dinner. It actually is where MLB hosts their media day for the Grapefruit League teams. And we have active participation from all of our teams each year that we do that. For the second question, as it relates to the Olympics, we wouldn't be necessarily the top choice for the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
And the Summer Olympics, there's this thing that we have, this little season, not winter, spring, summer, or fall, but from June to about November-ish, it's called hurricane season. So it would be difficult for us to evacuate the world on a moment's notice, but that doesn't rule us out. As we mentioned, in terms of base camp training, again, LA 28 is definitely on our radar. We just had team members to come back from Colorado Springs, speaking with the national governing bodies, as well as some of the USOPC organizations. Some of them call Florida home. But how is it that between now and 2028, and we even have Orlando is hosting Olympic trials for Paris. And so how is it that while we may not host the games in Florida, we definitely are primed and ready to create opportunities for preparation to have a huge impact through the games.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Jeff, for a great presentation. And more importantly, thanks for your great service. You might want to avoid this question, but it's important to a lot of people in Jacksonville and in St. Pete. What is your, or the foundation's view or your view of the ROI with the city paying so much money, maybe $1 billion to $1.5 billion to keep the stadiums for 20, 30 years or renovating them? Do you have a kind of ROI? Do you help communities make that decision, or what do you do in that regard?
So we do not. That is a piece that I'll put it to you this way. I came in this morning on a flight. My husband picked me up at about 12. You all know that American flight that gets in. It leaves sometime on time, maybe sometimes it doesn't. So we came in around 12:05 this morning. But last night I was on a stage in Miami at the World Economic Summit that FIU presents. And I was there with Miles Pistorius, who is general counsel for the Dolphins, Formula One, Miami Open, a couple of other events, Homestead Track, and others. And we were speaking about particularly what Stephen Ross has done in the Miami Gardens community and for Miami-Dade County. But if we just look at that, and while we do not, the Florida Sports Foundation does not, we're not at that table. What we do is we then take all of the resources that are available in Florida, and we then help to program success via whatever those resources are, via something that's shiny and new, or via something that is a hidden gem or jewel in terms of being able to create creative programming there. We were just in Orlando. If you've not been to the World, Ocala, my apologies, at the World Equestrian Center, the WEC, as they call it there in Ocala, well, it's an equestrian facility. But we're looking to do 7-on-7 football tournaments there. We're looking to do perhaps some lacrosse tournaments there. And again, yes, while we are not at that table and we do not make that decision, we are definitely here to showcase the decisions that are made and then what comes out of those decisions as the multiple opportunities that show itself.
Okay. Wasn't she great? So proud of you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Here you go. On behalf of the Economic Club, thank you, Angela Suggs. You ready to go?
Hey.
You stand up too. One more, because he helped get her. And thank you, Glenn Robertson and Katrina Roll for bringing Angela our way. Okay, thank you all very much for your attendance, and we will see you December at the reception. Thank you.